Welcome to this session of the Ancestral Healing Summit. I'm Lisa Bonnice, your host, and my guest for this session is Vanessa Gonzalez Codorniu. Our topic today is healing the witch and healer wound through ancestral hypnosis healing. Vanessa Gonzalez Codorniu is an acclaimed psychic, hypnotist, and teacher. Her 27 years of experience includes facilitating more than 10,000 individual sessions. She's a Bruja and Latinx teacher of intuition and clinical hypnosis with a focus on healing ancestral trauma and patterns through hypnosis called Ancestral Hypnosis Healing. And she's here with us today. Vanessa, I'm so glad to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me in the Shift Network. I'm so excited. I love having conversations with you. You are really the best.
Well, thank you so much. Before we actually get started, I understand that you have a grounding practice to begin our session. So why don't we go ahead and start there?
Absolutely. And so today, as we're going to explore the witch wound, the healer wound, I want to invite us to ground first, really to be prepared to allow ourselves to receive whatever comes up in this session and whatever we can clear and whatever we can reclaim. And so allowing our eyes to gently close, and just feeling our feet on the ground, feeling our booty in the seat. And let's take a deep breath in and call back our energy from all times and places into this moment and only the energy that we need. So breathing in and exhaling what we don't need. Taking another breath in and calling back our energy from wherever it may be, from the day, from yesterday, the weekend, just bringing it back, breathing in again and releasing. And taking another breath in, the third one, and exhaling. As we allow that exhalation to leave our lungs, to leave our belly, to leave our being, I'm going to invite us to call in our well ancestors and those doing the work on the other side. And as we call them in, acknowledging that they've always been with us, they've brought us here to this moment at this time, calling in our guides, calling in our angels, and using the words that feel comfortable to us. As we begin this session, we give great thanks to those ancestors who walked before us. We give great thanks to our soul, to our divine lineage that has brought us into this moment in time where there is more capacity for us to learn and heal and to step into our ancestors' complete, fulfilled, free, liberated, magical being. As we continue breathing in, again, letting our feet be where they are, pushing them maybe against the floor, breathing into our heart. And as we continue breathing into our heart, imagining now those beautiful well ancestors, and they are around us luminous, the ones who've done the work, the ones who have gained their health on the other side and or were already healthy in life. And as they look upon us with love, with support, with grace, allowing us to be in gratitude and also to ask for their support during this session, that we may be open to receive the wisdom that we need, that we may be open and brave enough to release what's needed, and that we may be empowered to embrace our very powerful magic. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is, so it shall be. Ashe, aho, and amen. Thank you. And whenever we're ready to open our eyes.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I can feel the vibe has shifted. Wonderful. Thank you. So let's go ahead and dive in. I love that we're talking about this topic because I know so many people, who still feel the effects of what's called the burning times, whether we had an ancestor involved or maybe a past life, or even just today, fear, persecution for expressing natural talents, which others people see maybe as magic, et cetera. So let's go ahead and start there. In your experience, in your years of work, how are we still suffering in the modern era from the witch trials?
Oh my God, it happens in so many ways. And I know that you've seen it and experienced it for yourself as well, right? And I have as well. And you can be in a meditation class, you could be in a spiritual class, and there's always going to be someone who says, well, I can't see, I can't feel, I can't hear anything. I don't have intuition. I don't. And when you go deeper into that exploration, when I've gone deeper, it turns out they used to see people, and what I mean is those who were deceased, they used to feel colors. They felt a connection to nature. They felt a connection to the sky, to the earth. And at some point, They were told, you're making it up, you're crazy, be careful. So we may not know, and we're not thinking directly, oh, I don't want to be burned at the stake. I don't want a pitchfork at the door. But ancestrally, as we go through, and I work with a lot of women who have European backgrounds, and I have some of that as well, where I know that I had to do a lot of work to be able to come out, because even when I came out, we weren't talking about this. Wi-Fi wasn't, it was just starting out. And, I wouldn't have even used the word bruja, which means witch, because I was like, oh, I'll just be the urban priestess, which was still also another word that, had its own energy. And so we're still suffering with this when we're like, oh, I'm not intuitive. Oh, that means it's unstable, or I'm crazy. Or if we carry any fear where we're like, well, I don't want to stick out. I don't want to be different from people. Well, we're all different. If there's ever people who seem to be very similar, it's because some part of them have adapted to survive, right? Or we've dressed alike to survive. And during the burning times, it even started beforehand, even in the 1200s, in the Spanish Inquisition, it was mostly Jewish people who were targeted. They also targeted brujas, right? They also targeted witches in Spain. And it went throughout Europe, right? It was Denmark and Germany and France and Italy, Spain, Catalonia. And I recently found out, because I have ancestors from Peru as well, Argentina, that they had a witch trial in Tucumán, Argentina, and I think it was the 1700s. So I did not know that. I thought it mainly happened in Europe, and then we had the hanging with the Salem trial. But it happened in Argentina, it happened in Peru, and I did more research, and even in Ghana, there were cases in the 90s, I think, where they were saying that there were these witches, right, in the tribe, in the family, that were harming people. And so the energy of othering somebody, of saying, well, they're different, they're not a human being, I think comes from some sort of belief, whether it's the Judeo-Christian religions, or some sort of belief that there's this really dark, evil power that we can call Satan, Lucifer, or just the dark side, or evil, and that women especially, but also men, are connected to this. And so we've been so colonized, so programmed to only be about, oh, we're going to pray to Jesus, that many of us have cut off our intuition. We're like, oh no, the priest, oh no. Well, we forget that if we even look at the Old Testament and even the New Testament, prophets were receiving information. If you're Catholic, saints were receiving information, right? And the saints were usually regular people who were most often poor. Maybe some of them came from good families, but most were living a life of austerity, and gave up their riches. It was a very simple life, and they were receiving these connections. And so a lot of us who are now in denial of intuition, denial of our healing power, are carrying that whether we know it or not.
Thank you. That was a beautiful foundation to start working from, especially when you bring up the saints, etc. I was raised Catholic, and I didn't stay with the church, but I know enough about it to recognize that Mass is basically spell casting. It just is. So there's what some folks consider, good witchcraft, and that, although they wouldn't use that word. So let's go ahead, let's define the word witchcraft and talk about maybe why people are frightened of it, when the Catholic Church itself and others, I'm sure, do their own version.
Well, I think, and please, for anyone who is Catholic and loves their Judeo-Christian religions, like, I honor you. I was raised Catholic, and I still have saints on my altar. I still have them because they guided me at a time in my life. And so it's not about this or that. It's about right? In this conversation, it's not about this is better, that's better. It's about and. And so when we bring in a lot of the major religions, and they go from being beyond the village or the tribe, now it's about controlling masses. And when we start to control the masses, we've got to steer them away from their own power, right? So we can come only to one place. We're going to come only to the priest. And if you notice, in a lot of traditional religions, it's mainly a male. So the patriarchy came in. And when the patriarchy started to sweep through Europe, Celtic women were powerful. I think I read about, there were several priestesses that were very powerful. And even they were willing to sometimes, unfortunately, slit their own throats or their kids' throats if they were going to be taken and enslaved, right? So they were powerful, where they were riding behind their men. And so we come from a very powerful lineage, whether it's Europe, Africa, Latin America, and we've lost that because when a society or a culture wants to control the whole and the masses, they've got to create an othering. Either you're with us and you're in the light and you're the chosen, or you're in the dark. And then they also scapegoated any magical practices as the devil. And even we were dealing with the Black Plague, we were dealing with COVID, and we were still doing witch hunts, right? The vaccine, not the vaccine, the this, the that, who's doing what, who started it, where was it created? When we as a people are scared, we try to find a reason or a solution. And what we do is we scapegoat. We scapegoat Jewish people, we've scapegoated Christians, we've scapegoated Muslims, and we scapegoated witches. What is at the root of the word witchcraft, right? Witchcraft, Witche, W-I-C-C-E, I think it's a German word or a Celtic word that says to shape or shift, right? And so witchcraft is the craft to shift and shape things. And so it could be, we could see hypnosis as, which I do, we could see hypnosis as witchcraft, because aren't you there using words to guide people into a healing, or chanting, right? To alter and shift our perspective. And so witchcraft was defined as having some sort of union with the devil and then doing hexes to harm people. So it was only mainly seen as negative. And people got blamed, right? People, oh, my cow died, or my baby wasn't born correctly. And so, but when we go deeper beyond the Judeo-Christian religions, we find indigenous practices in Ireland, in Scotland, in Germany, in Spain, in Latin America, right? All of the indigenous, the Mayan, the Aztec, they had the indigenous practices in Africa, in China. Everywhere we look, people at some point said, oh, I'm connected to nature. Oh, there's an energy within me telling me, go this way, not that way. Oh, there's a wild animal coming this way. Let's save our lives, go this way. We are naturally connected to each other and interdependent. And then when a need to control the masses came in, we were pushed away from nature. We were pushed away from the cycles of the moon. We were pushed away from each other. And above all, trusting our own intuition. And I remember being a kid and going, and I was Catholic, bending the knee, going to church, and at the same time doing spiritual work at home that was different. And I was like, how come all the people that I'm talking to or see leading these masses are all men? I know it's changed a little bit since then, but why are there all the men in power? Then the nuns are quiet and they can't have families. I mean, men didn't either. And, there's a story about that too. Like the priesthood at first could have families, but when they had families and they died, the church didn't get their estates. So if they came from any money and they didn't have children and they didn't have any heirs, the church took that on. And so I read about that. And so I used to question, I was like, what's going on? And so witchcraft has been seen as negative, as this connection with the devil. But I'll tell you, as a bruja, I don't have a connection with the devil at all. We don't even think about it. And European witches were honoring the male element of the god that looked like a goat. And that's where also the fear came of, is it Satan? But it was really celebrating fertility, right? And so it was like a nature-based celebration of, let's honor that we're going to be fertile. Let's do this ritual and honor the god. So we're going to be fertile and we'll have our babies and we're going to survive the winter. It was never about selling our souls to something evil so we could survive. And it's our nature, I think, to want to, like, we unconsciously create ceremony. Like, look at our happy birthday with the cake, right? I mean, it's like, happy birthday to you, and may you have a beautiful year. We are consciously wanting to celebrate moments. And that's how we started also doing these pagan celebrations. And so witchcraft has been cast as something terrible. So we're afraid of our own power, from my point of view. And when we start to embrace it, that everything that we do is a spell making, that everything that we do comes from this like deeply rooted ancestral energy, we can start shifting that fear.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I wonder then, you mentioned at the very beginning about, use the words that feel right to you. And it feels like just the word witchcraft alone. I mean, it's even hard for me to say that word, even though I understand, I have a logical understanding of what it means. I have a definition very clear in my mind, but there's this visceral reaction to the word itself. What are your thoughts on the word itself, witchcraft?
Thank you so much. No, my sister wrote me and she's like, you've been having all these interviews about brujeria, which is witchcraft. She's like scared about it. She was like, we light candles, we pray, we're Catholic based, but we do other things. She goes, I've never really heard you run around call it witchcraft, brujeria. I'm like, because it's so much greater. And so we have a visceral reaction because of centuries. And probably our family saw people being burned and or were burned. Somebody was at the stake, was burned, because they're saying that the numbers were in the high thousands, but even maybe into the millions, they're not sure. And some German towns were wiped out completely, and French towns, by the way, right? Completely. They were completely wiped. There was like one woman left. Yeah, I'll send you a documentary. But The Burning Times is a great one if you haven't seen it. It's wonderful. It's from the, I think, 80s or 90s, 1990. And so the reaction that we have is like literally our ancestors are going, they're like inside of us, like, don't use that word, don't use that word. And I think that a lot of people started taking on the word and using it to heal it, right? To transform it. Like that which was taken from me as an indigenous, magical, connected to nature practice from my ancestors was deemed terrible. And then I was separated from my own power. And now in order to empower, in order to be sovereign, in order to reclaim that, I'm going to use the word witch. Now we don't have to. We can just say we're a spiritual being. I'm a light worker. I'm a this worker. We could say I'm a spiritual person. That's it. For some of us, we want to reclaim it. I personally wanted to, and then became bruja, and like really, but my mom called me that as a little girl, mi brujita. And if you want to reclaim it in that way, go ahead. You don't need to. You don't need to wear a shirt. You don't need to wear a pentacle, a pentagram. You don't need to do any of that. For me, it's just the natural gift that we have to connect with each other, to trust our intuition, and to work with the moon cycles. Listen, a new moon, when there's a new moon coming, it's a time to seed. Even the farmers were using it that way, right? When there's a full moon, the energy is different. The tides are moving differently. We're like, what, 80% water? We're going to be shifting with the moon cycles. And women, when we bleed in our monthly cycle, we're also on a cycle. And so these cycles of evolution, these cycles of growth, and cycles of manifestation and creation, if we reclaim them, we can use the word bruja or witch, or we don't have to, right? It's our magic. It's our alignment with nature. But I think if we start using those words, Elisa, we can maybe heal it. We can heal it, and reclaim it and take it out from the dungeon, from where it was. Something very interesting that I noticed with a lot of younger witches is they use a lot of the aesthetic. They don't know. They use the aesthetic of the actual torturers, and the paintings that came out in that time, which were very dark, were black and white prints. And they, if you could Google witchcraft or witch, it's like sometimes it's very slim women with very straight, long hair, like this very ethereal look. And it's always it's dark night, there's a moon, and then there's a cauldron, all these things. But there's also the witch dressed like normal with a little flower print shirt, who's just in a pestle with a mortar, grinding the peppermint leaves that were dried to heal their kids' stomach pain. And so I encourage us to reclaim it if it feels right. And if not, just to go with the flow and your own nature-based, like, ancestral wisdom.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So now we've been talking a bit about reclaiming abilities. What abilities in your experience are we, I mean, you've mentioned a couple, but let's dive in. What abilities do we have access to that we've shut off or allowed to be shut off, et cetera? And what do you think are the benefits of reclaiming them?
I love that question. And the first thing that comes to heart really is that our opinions are valuable. The ability of sovereignty, the ability that we don't have to look around and be like, okay, what is the husband saying, or the man saying, or the patriarch of the family? Oh yeah, what he says. That's very basic, and not everybody's living that way, but there's still people who've been raised that way. Oh, whatever he says, honey, my opinion's not that important, right? And so the first ability is the ability for us to make decisions and to understand that they're completely valuable and important. A second ability that comes to heart too is the ability to know that our mere presence, because women were seen for generations as only important in their beauty and their youth and their ability to give birth, and older women were not valued. Or how about what we're reclaiming the crone? right? And we don't like the word crone, some of us do. We reclaim that word as well, which is the older woman who's already not bleeding, but yet is still powerful because the blood isn't moving through her body out. The wisdom is staying within. It's the full moon of our time, right? The fullness. And then also the moon getting smaller. And as we release the times of youth and go into the deep wisdom time. So reclaiming our sovereignty, reclaiming that our age is actually our power. We have lived life. We have survived. We have resilience. We have wisdom we can impart younger generations. The third one would be a whole host and slew of clairs. We're talking about clairvoyance, being able to see, claircognizance, being able to just know without knowing how we know. Clairvoyance, seeing, cognizance, knowing, clairaudience, hearing, could be in our own voice, but we, the empathy, the ability to have, to be empathic, to sense people's emotions. Women have that so much. We've been trained, right, to feel and sense and fulfill people's needs even without asking. So we naturally have that. But to be able to be like, you know what, I'm an empath and everybody's driving me crazy and I'm going to go walk in nature or go take a bath right now or do a meditation because it's overwhelming. The ability to claim that empath skill, the ability to know that we can connect with the deceased, right? That our deceased are going to drop a feather or a coin or a message or a cardinal or a chipmunk or whatever it may be, a fox in my case, in my backyard. Hey, I'm here. I love you. That connecting with the dead is not evil. That connecting with the dead, necromancy or whatever they called it, that it's natural, that we continue to be spirits who can connect through an intuitive force. The ability to reclaim plant medicine, right? With Shift Network does so much. Plant medicine is so healing. Yeah. Oh no, leave the witchcraft stuff. Or, we're not going to do that mortar and pestle. But now we can bring it back. We can heal ourselves. The ability to honor our Western medicine and honor our doctors. I honor my doctor. Listen, I couldn't heal my fibroids by myself, no matter what I did, acupuncture, herbs, whatever. Somebody had to cut me open and get those puppies out, right? So we can honor Western medicine and also trust our intuition. And also have a lot of people have been trained not to question doctors. Oh, I take my list. I'm like, look, this, and I said, and I'm not trying to be a Google doctor, but my intuitive doctor saying, how about this, this, and that? Can I do it without the medicine? And doctors sometimes smile at me and they're like, I like your questions, Vanessa, let's do this. So that we, even though we don't have that training, we have an ability to ask questions, shake things up, the ability to look and sound and be different. When we start reclaiming that wild woman, that bruja, that witch, that, you know what, and we can go into Lilith, but that's astrology, but that wild woman part of ourselves. And so more joy, more capacity. Because, I remember my grandmother, my grand aunt who died, she said, who passed away already. And she said to me when I met her, I brought her a belly dance skirt, a coin belt. And she was in her 80s with Alzheimer's already. But she said to me, she remembered me and she goes, I wasn't allowed to dance. They said that was not good. To dance and move your hips, was not to move your breasts and your body. But that's like a bad, like a witch, wild woman, evil woman type of thing. And of course, when we put down women and put down the dark and we put down magic and we put down healing powers, we also put down sexuality and sensuality. It's all interconnected. We don't want women dancing around the moon wildly. We can't control who they're giving birth to. But when I gave her that coin belt skirt, I said, Thea, I want you to put it on. I want you to shake your hips. And she was 84. She put it, she's like, all right, let's go. And I was like, I want you to know that I dance now. This was years ago. I dance now. And so reclaiming joy, reclaiming our bodies, reclaiming our sensuality, reclaiming our intuition. And the knowing that, again, coming back to self-value, self-worth, and embodiment of our own spirit and our own body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thank you for bringing up belly dance. I think a lot of people don't realize that women, when belly dancing, back in the old days, women were dancing for other women. It wasn't for the male gaze. It wasn't dancing for men. It was women embodying their femininity, and by practicing belly dance, it would help with childbirth to become easier, et cetera. So I appreciate you bringing up the concept of dance and that your aunt enjoyed that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. And it's so true. And in Latin cultures, unless they're very religious, we dance and we move our hips and we're like, and we scream and we shout and we do our thing. And some other cultures have lost that, right? Because I see 80-year-old, 70-year-old or older Latinos who are like, let's get in there. And they're cute with their little suit and they're doing the dance and they're doing the thing. You know, my grandfather, my friends, but there are other cultures who've lost that through time, through religion, that the body must be stiff. We must not tempt. What are we doing? We're going to be wild. We're going to lose our way, especially women, right? Men are going to look at us. Maybe we'll be abused. So reclaiming dance, reclaiming our body, reclaiming our voices and our own pleasure too. Because with Judeo-Christian religions, traditionally, we're supposed to lay there, let somebody have sex with us, and then kids came through us. But reclaim our sexuality is part of reclaiming the witch, reclaiming the healer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now I want to, if you don't mind, I want to change subject because I want to make sure we talk about one of the areas of your expertise is hypnosis. So let's talk about how hypnosis can be used to heal intergenerational trauma.
Thank you so much for that. Well, hypnosis is a very, very powerful technique that I started using like in my teens from a cassette, and it worked. And it is, a trance-like mental state where people experience increased attention, concentration, suggestibility. And some people describe it as a sleep-like state, but it's not really. It's just accessing other parts of your subconscious mind, resilience, courage, talents. And in everyday life, we are kind of trauma can be anchored in our body, pain, ancestral stories, as we know, intergenerational trauma. And I found that when we use hypnosis and people relax their body and go in and are able to face those things, are able to integrate, are able to forgive and release, that we come back lighter, that we're able to release quicker, right? Like, and I always say, like, healing is a process and it can happen faster than we imagine. That's what I've been saying for a long time in hypnotic state. I wasn't taught that, but through my own studies, I was like, yes, this works. And so I've worked with hypnosis for myself in order to be able to do the work that I do and be more visible. I've worked with so many people doing this work and write a Shift Network course as well. And I think that it works very quickly and it allows us to connect to our intuition too, because we're calling on our higher selves to also, and our deepest wisdom to come in and do the healing. As opposed to everyday life where we're like, I'm gonna have to work, I'm gonna go deep. And we think we have to push, we have to force, we have to work. Hypnosis is a natural state. If you've ever driven anywhere close near your house and been kind of an automatic, and then you get there, but you really didn't think about it, you were tapping into that part of yourself, right? Like almost a trance-like hypnotic state that got you there while you were thinking about things and you were just driving. And so, or when we listen to a song and we like start to imagine, I always become like a star in my own mind when I hear a song that I love and I'm singing and doing my thing. But we all have those reveries or nostalgia or memories. And so it's not weird. In hypnosis, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So no one can make you do anything you don't want to, because we are all so afraid of that due to movies. And I think it's an incredible way to support folks and to be supported to reduce, ancestral anxiety that we've incarnated with, that we've been born into, ancestral worry about abuse or having abuse or oppression or not being able to speak up or not thinking that we're valuable, or there's so many, or that our creativity isn't important. I don't know, my grandfather was downed on his creativity, my paternal, because they were like, are you going to be poor? Right? That we have these stories of poverty if you're going to be spiritual, or poverty if you're going to be an artist, or poverty if you're not going to do a traditional career. And hypnosis helps with that as well.
Wow. Well, would you mind maybe giving us a demonstration? Maybe lead us through a guided practice or something?
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you, Lisa. I'm so excited about that. So I want to invite folks to very quickly, we're going to do this quickly, maybe, 8 minutes, but allowing ourselves to look straight ahead for a moment. And as we look straight ahead, just noticing our breath going in and out. And knowing that we're safe, knowing that we're ready, knowing that there's time. That it's time in this moment to begin to release any witch wound, any healer's wound, any wound around our spiritual connection, our sacred divinity, our magic. And now looking 6 inches above the direct line of vision. And as we look, I'm going to invite you to keep your eyes open without blinking. And so open, 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 keeping your eyes open without blinking. Open, 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 knowing that you're ready, knowing that it's time. Healing is a process that could happen faster than we imagine, and keeping your eyes open without blinking. Now, closing them tight, scrunching your face, your shoulders, your hands, your fists, your whole body, your toes, tight, 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 just scrunching, 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 Tight, 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 and release. And as you release, allowing your eyes to remain closed, allowing your forehead, the muscles in your forehead to relax. It's time. You're ready. You're watching this because you're ready. You're doing this because you're ready. Relaxing the muscles in your jaw, relaxing the energy in your shoulders, relaxing in your back and your stomach and your lower back and your legs, allowing yourself to go deeper, knowing that it's time, knowing that you're ready, knowing that everything that you need is already within you, knowing that you've always had this connection, knowing that it's always been within you, and allowing yourself to go deeper, knowing that it's time, knowing that you're ready, and allowing maybe your head to drop a little gently and gently and gently, and allowing yourself to go deeper within, going deeper, going deeper. As you allow yourself to go even deeper, imagining now that you're going even 20 times deeper, allowing yourself to go deeper, because you know that healing is a process that can happen faster than we imagine, going deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're ready. It's time, allowing yourself to go deeper. As you allow yourself to go deeper, imagining that there are beautiful roots from your feet going into the earth, connecting to Pachamama, Mother Earth, Gaia. This beautiful healing light of the earth begins to flow into your toes, into your calves, into your knees, into your body. As it fills every system, every cell, every muscle, every bone, we're calling in only healing energy, only energy of liberation, of joy, of creativity, of expansion, of safety. As the energy fills every cell, every bone, every muscle, every organ, flowing into your hips, into your chest, into your neck, into your head, and then flowing out from your head and your body, creating a beautiful X-shaped shell around you, allowing yourself to go deeper and deeper, going even deeper still, knowing that I'm ready, knowing that it's time. At this time, we call those well ancestors and your angels and guides, asking that we are held, asking that we release, and going even deeper. And at this time now, we're going to count from 5 to 1, allowing ourselves to go 20 times deeper still. And 5, floating like a leaf gently on the breeze, being held, going even deeper. And 4, floating even deeper down. And 3, flowing even deeper. And 2, gently going even deeper down. And 1, allowing ourselves to be in a peaceful state. As we take another deep breath in and exhaling, going even deeper. Imagining now in our mind's eye a beautiful place in nature full of peace and support, a place where you'd like to go, a place where you've been, and taking another deep breath and allowing yourself to be there. And exhaling. As we allow ourselves to be there, imagining this beautiful, luminous, well and wise ancestors. And they're coming into the space holding a beautiful golden circle around us. And as we smile at them, and as they're rejoicing to see us in any way that is the way that your people celebrated, whether they're stomping or clapping or just smiling peacefully or singing, they're welcoming you home. They're welcoming you to the health and the healing. They're welcoming us to a time before oppression, a time before we were told to be a certain way or be a certain way, a time where there was more physical freedom, spiritual freedom. As you engage with your well and wise ancestors, allowing that feeling of support and love to fill every part of you, knowing that you're safe, knowing that it's time. And now we're going to ask our well and wise ancestors, and we're going to receive a yes or a no. We're going to ask our well and wise ancestors, our deepest wisdom, are we carrying a witch wound? Are we carrying a healer's wound, where we've been separated from our magic or intuition or our sensuality or our creativity, where our ancestors have been wronged or oppressed in the past? Are we carrying a witch or healer's wound? Counting from 3 to 1, asking your deepest knowing, your well ancestors, you'll receive a yes or a no, receive a clear yes or no. You'll hear it, feel it, or see it. Asking your well ancestors, counting from 3 to 1, 3, 2, and 1. And allowing yourself to receive that. And asking your deepest wisdom, your well and wise ancestors, what is the story if I do have the wounded healer or the witch wound or the healer's wound or spirit wound, spirituality wound? What is the story? What is the story that I'm carrying subconsciously or consciously? What is the story that I'm carrying? Counting from 3 to 1, the information will come to you. 3, 2, and 1. And allowing the information to come. And allowing yourself to go even deeper, knowing that you're ready, knowing that it's time. The more you let go, the better you feel. So we let go. And counting from 3 to 1, asking your wise and well ancestors, how can I begin to heal this soulful wounding, this healer's wound, this witch's wound? How can I begin to heal this? Counting from 3 to 1, receiving 3, 2, and 1. And knowing that in minutes, hours, and days, you're going to be receiving even more information from your deepest knowing, how to continue moving into grace, into embodiment, into safety, into connecting with plants and nature and your own wild, beautiful self. As we turn in this beautiful place, and you're surrounded by your well ancestors, counting from 3 to 1, bringing in any ancestor that was harmed or was affected by the witch trials that happened in Europe and that affected also Africans and Latin Americans and indigenous peoples around the world, calling in those ancestors who were oppressed to come into the center of the circle. 3, 2, and 1. And now thanking them from our heart. Thanking them because of the story and because of what happened to them, perhaps they hid to protect their families. They went into invisibility. They disconnected just to survive. And just sharing from your heart, thank you so much. I love you. I know you tried to keep your family safe. I know you suffered, and I'm so sorry. And I love you so much. And I'm so happy to be doing this healing work. And I'm so excited to receive even deeper gifts. Thank you for your life. Thank you for your sacrifice. I love you so much. When they're receiving the love and they're already in a process of healing, feeling seen, knowing that you in this time, wherever you may be, have more freedom to be their sacred dream, your ancestors' dream. And you may want to hug them or kiss them or just send them love from your heart. And your well ancestors go around them, begin to hug them, embracing them into healing, embracing them into the light. We're going to take 3 deep breaths really quick to release this energy of this witch wound, of this healer's wound, the spirituality wound, and breathing in deeply, releasing with a sound. Mind, body, and spirit. Letting go, like rust, like dust, like clouds lifting off your body, taking another deep breath in, breathing in, and exhaling. Mind, body, and spirit. Letting go, ready in a deep process of healing. And one more breath in, breathing in, and exhaling. Mind, body, and spirit. Letting go. Your body needs to move or shake your shoulders or whatever you need. And you see your well ancestors embracing the ancestors who've been oppressed and harmed in some way, taking them into the light, already feeling clear, already feeling lighter. And you're waving at them and thanking them, feeling lighter, feeling clearer. And just breathing in this energy. It is now safe for me to allow my creativity to flow. It is safe for me to speak my truth. It is safe for me to be with like-minded folks who want to dance around a bonfire or sing or chant or pray in different ways. It is safe for me to acknowledge my powerful, beautiful magic. It is safe for me to honor and love my body in whatever shape, at whatever stage, in whatever age it's in. My body is sacred in all forms. My sensuality and sexuality is sacred in all forms. I am powerful. I am beautiful in whatever state I am in. I honor myself now. I honor my ancestors. Thank you. And giving deep thanks. Thank you. And gently coming back, keeping our eyes closed. We reach 5 and 1, moving hands and feet, coming back to the place where we started. 2, moving our arms, our body, our necks, coming back, feeling lighter, feeling clear, already in a deep process of healing. 3, moving everything, coming back. 4, feeling lighter, feeling clear, remembering everything, already in a process of healing. And 5, whenever we're ready to open our eyes and return.
Wow, that packed a wallop. Thank you so much for that. Well, if you don't mind my asking, when you first did this work for yourself, what did you feel being released? If you don't mind my asking.
Thank you. For me, it was visibility. So I was doing my work serving community, but I didn't do, I didn't even come on video till 2016. I wanted to do things hidden. It was like the invisible community witch woman healer, and in order to really succeed in this work, to really support yourself from this work, for real, right? You need to be visible. You need to have conversations. You need to put your name to things. You need to claim your magic so you can help others claim their magic. So for me, it was visibility. For me, it was releasing the fear that there were going to be pitchforks at the door. And my mom and my grandmother had it, that they were psychic mediums. They're like, you can do this work for yourself, but please don't go public. People will criticize you. You won't be accepted in society. So it was that, the being ostracized, being harmed, and causing harm for my family, and a fear of being seen.
Right. So basically you came out of the broom closet.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it was the broom. Even though you're doing it, you're in service. And a lot of people watching this probably are, they're ready, whether it's they're doing it through church or through volunteer work or whatever they do. We're already serving our community. We just, maybe also holding back.
Yeah. And for me, it was, I think one of the biggest fears that I had was doing harm. That, there is this power, there are these abilities, but if you're not really careful with how you use them, you can actually, I think that back in the days when people were being persecuted for being witches, maybe some of them weren't quite so innocent. And I want to be very careful how I say that. Yeah, there were people who would cast spells and would try to harm others, and they were the bad apples. So
and there's still some of that now. Look, when anyone's selling you services and they're not the real deal, or they're lying to you that they're going to heal you with one session, like, healing is a process, right? Or when they convince you to somehow release your power and hand it over to them, that's the antithesis of what we're trying to do here, trying to empower ourselves. And I've also come in contact with work done to me, right? So my parents weren't wrong. I've seen razor blades with blood on them outside a door, my family lineage. And then we were like cleansing and clearing and doing the limpias. And that's why I do believe that anybody who's in a spiritual path and visible needs to also have very solid spiritual practice. So I'm glad that you brought that up. There are people, and then it's not an evolved, it's not a healed magic at that point. It's a tit for tat. It's an eye for an eye. There's evolved Catholicism. There's healed Judaism. There's healed Catholicism. There's healed Islam, right? There's healed magic and brujeria, and there's unhealed. Where it's like, oh, you did that, or I want what you have, I'm gonna do this. That's not a healed perspective. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for allowing me to bring that up. I know.
No, I think it's important. We can't all be like white light. It's also like, yes, there's reasons.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Well, I'm watching the clock here, and I want to make sure before we run out of time that I mention your website. It's thebizbruja.com. It's the BIZBRUJA.com. Tell us what we'll find if we visit you there.
Thank you so much. So you'll find a course it's on the Shift Network now. Maybe it'll come back, who knows? But doing ancestral hypnosis healing, you'll find Akashic record sessions, ancestral healing sessions, hypnosis, all manner of courses and trainings. So yeah, stop by.
All right, great. Well, Vanessa, this has been such an interesting conversation. I know we could go on and on and on, but we're almost out of time. Is there anything that you want to make sure that we talk about before we go, or do you feel like we've covered it?
Thank you. I think we've covered a lot. And what I want to say to everyone, I've met people who are about to go get a Reiki training who ran out because they were triggered and they were afraid because church bells rang. They're like, oh my God, is it a sign? Let it be an and. Let it be an and. Use the words that you're comfortable with and trust yourself and continue to gift yourself the gift of nature, the gift of connection, and the gift of self-compassion wherever you are. So thank you. I'm thanking our well ancestors. Thank you so much, Lisa. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. It's been just a delightful conversation. I've learned so much. Thank you for that. All right. I want to remind everyone that I've been talking with Vanessa Gonzalez Codorniu, and I want to thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation in the Ancestral Healing Summit.